This is the trade recap for July 9th, 2026. I woke up late, and when I got onto the charts around 8:50, 9 o'clock, I could see that we had already swept London high and London low. We zoom out more, we can still see that London had previously swept Asia high, and Asia low is still on the still a target level. It's lining up with our level 1 fib here as well. We also have previous day high below us as well as true day open below us. That's heavy areas of influence that we can target for motion. Above us, we have our previous week 50, previous month 50, as well as ranges up to the 786 and the 1, or I suppose the -1 level there. And so as we step forward, we can see again we're chopped around 1 and ES, which is around this area at this time. It's showing the same kind of chop, 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 chop. Over on ES at this time, we hadn't swept London high. London kind of showed the same thing, already swept Asia high, but not Asia low. Our Asia low was lining up on the 786 as well, which is what we can see. So that's kind of the pre-market analysis I did today. So what I wanted to see was maybe pop up to maybe the previous month 50 before dropping down to scoop up the rest of this liquidity. We also look at the 4-hour chart at this time, and we can see that we have a 4-hour fair value gap that we're in the middle of, as well as one here. So from here to here is also a 4-hour FVG here, which is in between two levels here, which can also be an area of interest because we had already swept way down here. So zooming back in, let everything load. We continue to step forward, and 9:30 begins with an immediate down move, which is what we wanted to see because the market wants to come down. We can also see that ES is doing the same thing with a massive down move to the obviously the downside there. So we continue to break down before slowly reversing back up with some massive moves. So now this is going to run. One of my rules is I do not trade, oops, oh my gosh, I do not trade before 9:45 because of opening range. It's just a lot of noise. I just don't do that. So today we're just not going to open. However, this is a great move up. We have a print through of a fair value gap that you could have easily taken on the way up. As we continue to go up here, ES begins hitting this fib level here as well as NQ. And we can see that we drive right through it. That's a 3-bar pattern right here. So this is a 3-bar pattern. We have a range of either the opposite direction and then a continuation. ES also is showing a 3-bar pattern, so that's good for the continuation. So if you got in down here, that's a great move. We continue to keep roaring up here with a retest of the 236 in the previous month 50. That's a quarter point here. We can see the same thing here going on here, but obviously we continue to the upside. However, as we continue to the upside here, we start stalling out and we get a move like this, where we have a fair value gap right here, and then a print through. ES is showing the same thing here, a massive print through to the downside. Personally, I took a sell order here with a stop loss of 300 and a take profit of 900. I might have been one candle off, whatever, but I was down here, and I immediately get reversed because what we wanted to see here was this fair value gap hold back to the downside. So it's okay to go into drawdown a little bit here and then continue down. But what happens on the next one is it immediately breaks through the fair value gap and continues upward. And we can see on ES, it's also lining up here too. At this point, orb has been formed, and so this was kind of a failure. That was another reason why I took this trade, is we had a failure. We had a failed break back into orb, which was also another confluence of why I took that. But we also had an instant reaction off the 236 reversed. So hey, we just got smoked there. But that is part of, losing is a part of it. So now we sit on our hands a little bit and we see that it just continues to the upside. And hey, you know what? We rejected off the 236. We have room to come all the way up. However, we have a quarter point here that may slow us down. So personally, I took a buy here as well because I saw this continuation up. I went in with 3 units and went a little bit into drawdown, and my psychology got the best of me and I nearly backed out to try to recover some of my losses here. At this point, we are coming up now and ES is starting to stall. And we can see that reflected in NQ. We kind of begin to stall out. Bam, bam, bam. However, now we have a new lower low formed and ES is starting to come down. What is being created here as well is a trend. Now our trend is here. I drew it from here to here. This is our true trend that we talk about. Okay, we need to break that true trend with an impulse trend. Our impulse trend now is at the top of this candle that we want to see come down here. This is our impulse trend there. Okay, so now we can see ES starting to stall out and play around with this orb here, top of orb, that's the green line there. And NQ is starting to stall too. We're starting to kind of chill a little bit from the massive moves that we had. And we're floating in between 2 ranges, so again, it takes a lot of confluence to take a trade here because we're currently floating. However, the ES confluence is showing us that, hey, we're starting to come down because ES is failing to make newer highs. It's creating lower lows. So now the trend is starting to reverse. So here we get a big print through here, but I'm still going to sit on my hands because, again, the true trend can also look like this too, because I'm also thinking, hey, I don't want to get faked out against it. I want to jump right into this trade. However, ES now has broken lower lows and we're breaking back into orb. The confluence is getting very good. We have another breakdown to show a 3-bar pattern here, and I believe this might be where I jump into. I think I jumped in with 3 units here, with a stop loss just above here, and I was targeting the 236 here, and so we continue down, and that is when we finally actually break down, and we begin getting those losses back. I took this, I think, for 300 points, around 260. Essentially recovering all my losses from before. So I believe I got out at this point because it was the 236. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Made some of my money back, and then at this point, ES stalls out right at the fib level. NQ shows continuation. Fib level now turns into resistance instead of support. We continue to get a breakdown. There's a 3-bar pattern coming in, and then we get the massive red candle coming in there, which is a huge candle going from level to level, fills that huge thing because we're eating up these fair value gaps here. This is where I accidentally slipped and hit the buy button, lost a bunch of my gains, but like we're still green on the day, and that is when I ended up stopping for the day because I had 3 trades and I was done. There's another 3-bar pattern here. And we continue down to the 236, which is lining up perfectly with orb low from ES. And we get a massive another dump through there, and then we begin to chill. So what we'd want to see is a continuation candle, but this wick and flip shows us that we're kind of stalling out. ES is also stalling out because we could have continued down. We continue to come through here, still no print through. There's the print through. This is a big candle, so maybe wait for the retrace. Still no retrace. There's the retrace. Enter with your buys. I did not take this trade today, but you could have easily taken this trade as well. And we just let it run. And there you go. You're up in profit the rest of the way home. Um, that's essentially what I traded today. That's all I needed. I was green on the day. Um, and yeah, it's simple liquidity sweeps, session sweeps, trying to catch reversals down. It's just whatever the market wants to do. This was a great entry here. This was the entry up here because we got faked out here, but that's the 10% failure that we see every once in a while. Nothing is perfect, so that's part of the failure, part of the game. Size correctly, risk manage correctly, and you won't have any issues because then we see these big moves here, and then you can catch it on the way up. Um, yeah, so that's kind of the trade recap of the day. I'm sure there's more trade opportunities out there, but that is how I